There's something transformative about stepping through the gates of a Disney theme park. The worries of everyday life fade away as you're transported to a realm where fantasy and reality intertwine seamlessly. While this enchantment might seem purely the product of imagination, many of Disney's most beloved attractions have roots firmly planted in the real world. Disney's legendary Imagineers, those visionary designers responsible for bringing the parks to life, have long drawn inspiration from Earth's most spectacular landmarks, architectural marvels, and natural wonders. This creative adaptation of reality into fantasy represents one of the most fascinating aspects of Disney's design philosophy. Walt Disney himself believed that authenticity was essential to creating immersive experiences, famously stating, "I don't want the public to see the world they live in while they're in the park. I want them to feel they're in another world." To achieve this vision, Disney and generations of Imagineers after him have studied, photographed, and meticulously recreated elements from extraordinary places around the globe. From towering alpine peaks to medieval castles, from ancient ruins to modernist marvels, these real-world locations have been thoughtfully reimagined within Disney parks worldwide. Let's embark on a journey to discover 10 remarkable places that served as muses for Disney's magical kingdoms, exploring both the originals and their fantastical counterparts. Matterhorn Mountain, Switzerland. Rising majestically from the alpine landscape near Zermatt, Switzerland, the Matterhorn stands as one of Europe's most recognizable natural landmarks. Its distinctive pyramid shape, soaring to 14,692 feet, 4,478 meters, has captivated travelers for centuries with its imposing presence and breathtaking beauty. In 1959, Walt Disney found himself similarly enchanted during a Swiss vacation. Gazing upon the mountain's dramatic silhouette, he envisioned bringing a piece of the Alps back to California. The result was the Matterhorn bobsleds, which opened at Disneyland in 1959 as the world's first tubular steel continuous track roller coaster, a revolutionary development in ride technology. While Disney's version stands at a comparatively modest 147 feet, a precisely calculated 1/100th scale of the original, the attention to detail is remarkable. Imagineers studied photographs extensively to recreate the mountain's contours, coloration, and geological features. They even incorporated artificial pine trees and alpine flowers to enhance the illusion. The interior of the attraction houses caverns, waterfalls, and, famously, an abominable snowman, adding layers of storytelling to the experience. The relationship between the two Matterhorns extends beyond mere appearance. In a touching tribute, climbers who scaled the actual Matterhorn brought small stones from the summit, which were incorporated into Disneyland's version during construction, a physical connection between the natural wonder and its artistic interpretation. Neuschwanstein Castle, Germany. Perhaps no real-world inspiration is more evident in Disney's iconography than Neuschwanstein Castle. Perched dramatically atop a rugged hill in Bavaria, Germany, this 19th-century palace epitomizes romantic architecture with its soaring towers, ornate spires, and picturesque setting against the Alps. King Ludwig II commissioned the castle in 1869 as a personal retreat and homage to composer Richard Wagner. Though never fully completed, Neuschwanstein became world-famous for its fantastical design, a blend of Romanesque, Gothic, and Byzantine styles that seemed plucked from a fairy tale. When designing Sleeping Beauty Castle for Disneyland's opening in 1955, Walt Disney and his Imagineers, particularly artist Avondale, drew heavy inspiration from Neuschwanstein. The resemblance is unmistakable in the vertical emphasis, blue turrets, and dramatic positioning as the central focal point of the park. Disney's castle was deliberately designed to serve as both an awe-inspiring landmark and a storytelling device, a physical embodiment of fairy tale magic that would emotionally prepare visitors for the adventures beyond. Interestingly, while Neuschwanstein influenced Disneyland's castle, subsequent Disney castles worldwide each have unique designs. Tokyo Disneyland features a replica of the original Sleeping Beauty Castle, while Disney World showcases Cinderella Castle, which draws inspiration from various European palaces including Neuschwanstein but adds additional French Gothic elements. Each iteration maintains the essence of Neuschwanstein's romantic idealism while evolving the concept for different cultural contexts. Cadillac Ranch, Texas. Along the historic Route 66 in Amarillo, Texas, stands one of America's most eccentric roadside attractions, Cadillac Ranch. Created in 1974 by the art collective Ant Farm, This installation features 10 Cadillac automobiles from the years 1949 through 1963, half buried nose first in the ground at an angle corresponding to the Great Pyramid of Giza. Over decades, visitors have been encouraged to add their own graffiti to the vehicles, creating an ever-changing canvas of colors and messages. This democratic approach to art, combined with the celebration of Americana and automotive culture, embodies the spirit of the open road. When Pixar's creative team began developing Cars Land for Disney California Adventure, they drew substantial inspiration from Cadillac Ranch. The most direct homage appears in the Radiator Springs Races attraction, where the Cadillac Range Mountains feature tail fins and contours that unmistakably evoke the buried vehicles. The Imagineers even replicated the weathered, sun-bleached quality of the original installation. Beyond the visual reference, Cars Land captures the nostalgic essence of Route 66 culture that Cadillac Ranch represents, a reverence for classic automobiles and the freedom of highway travel. The attraction transforms these cultural touchstones into an immersive environment where cars aren't just transportation but sentient beings with personalities and stories to tell. Sverresborg Trondelag Folk Museum, Norway. Nestled in Trondheim, Norway, the Sverresborg Trondelag Folk Museum showcases traditional Norwegian architecture through preserved and reconstructed historical buildings. The museum's collection includes numerous examples of distinctive Scandinavian wooden structures featuring steep pitched roofs, intricate carvings, and colorful decorative elements. Among these structures, the traditional Norwegian loft houses, multi-story wooden buildings with external staircases and ornate details, caught the attention of Disney Imagineers seeking authenticity for the Norway Pavilion at Epcot. When the time came to create a meet and greet location for Anna and Elsa following the phenomenal success of Frozen, designers turned specifically to these historical references. The resulting Royal Summerhouse in Epcot's World Showcase bears striking similarities to buildings at Sverresborg, particularly in its timber construction, distinctive roofline, and decorative elements. The red-trimmed windows, grass-covered roof sections, and carved wooden detailing are all faithful adaptations of traditional Norwegian architectural features. Disney's interpretive process involved studying the proportions, materials, and construction techniques of authentic Norwegian buildings while adapting them to Florida's climate and modern safety requirements. Imagineers even incorporated subtle weathering effects and asymmetrical elements to suggest a structure that had evolved organically over generations, despite being newly constructed. This attention to cultural authenticity extends throughout the Norway Pavilion, creating an environment that celebrates Norwegian heritage while providing a logical setting for Frozen-themed experiences. The careful balance of historical accuracy and storytelling demonstrates Disney's commitment to respectful cultural representation within their fantasy framework. Zambezi River, Africa. Flowing nearly 1,600 miles through 6 African nations, the Zambezi River represents one of Africa's most ecologically diverse waterways. Its banks host remarkable biodiversity, from towering trees and dense undergrowth to an abundance of wildlife. The river's journey through varied landscapes, from woodlands to wetlands, creates distinct ecosystems supporting thousands of plant species. When conceptualizing Disneyland's Jungle Cruise in the early 1950s, Walt Disney envisioned an attraction that would transport guests to exotic riverways of the world, with the Zambezi serving as a principal inspiration. Legendary landscape architect Bill Evans faced the monumental challenge of recreating tropical environments in Southern California's Mediterranean climate. Initially, technological limitations necessitated using artificial plants, but Evans's vision extended beyond plastic replicas. Over decades, the attraction evolved as horticultural techniques advanced. Today, the Jungle Cruise features over 700 real plant species, many selected specifically to approximate the vegetation found along the Zambezi. Through careful selection of similar-appearing species that could thrive in the local climate, Evans and subsequent Disney horticulturists created a convincing simulation of African riverbank ecology. Massive ficus trees, tropical bamboo groves, and lush philodendrons combined to create a canopied waterway reminiscent of the Zambezi's most dramatic sections. The attention to botanical authenticity serves multiple purposes. It creates a convincing backdrop for the adventure narrative, provides natural shade and cooling effects for visitors, and demonstrates Disney's commitment to living landscapes. While the ride's humorous tone and fictional elements clearly place it in the realm of entertainment rather than education, the underlying ecological inspiration grounds the experience in real-world environments that few guests might otherwise experience. The Millennium Biltmore Hotel, Los Angeles. In downtown Los Angeles stands the magnificent Millennium Biltmore Hotel, a 1923 masterpiece of Beaux-Arts architecture designed by Schultz and Weaver. The hotel's spectacular lobby and public spaces showcase an opulent blend of Renaissance and Mediterranean influences, with intricately painted ceilings, massive crystal chandeliers, ornate columns, and lavish marble floors. The Biltmore has enjoyed a long association with Hollywood glamour, having hosted early Academy Awards ceremonies and served as a filming location for countless productions. When Disney Imagineers began developing the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror for Disney's Hollywood Studios, then Disney MGM Studios, in the early 1990s, they sought architectural references that would evoke the golden age of Hollywood. The interior lobby of the Tower of Terror draws clear inspiration from the Biltmore, particularly in its grand arched ceiling adorned with intricate Moorish influence patterns. The attraction's fictional Hollywood Tower Hotel mimics specific elements from the Biltmore: the elaborate check-in desk, ornate elevator doors, and the overall sense of faded 1930s luxury. Imagineers studied the Biltmore extensively, photographing architectural details and analyzing the proportions and decorative elements that create its distinctive atmosphere. They then reinterpreted these features through the lens of abandonment and supernatural mystery, incorporating dust, cobwebs, and strategic deterioration to suggest a once grand space frozen in time since the attraction's fictional 1939 incident. The connection between the Biltmore and the Tower of Terror represents Disney's sophisticated approach to adaptation, not simply copying a reference but transforming it to serve narrative purposes. The familiar yet distorted architectural elements contribute to the attraction's unsettling atmosphere, making guests feel they've entered a parallel version of a recognizable landmark. The Himalayas, Tibet/Nepal. Spanning 5 countries across Asia, the Himalayan mountain range stands as Earth's most formidable alpine environment. Mount Everest, rising to 29,032 feet, 8,849 meters, represents the pinnacle of this majestic range, surrounded by dramatic valleys, remote villages, and unique cultural traditions developed over millennia of human adaptation to extreme conditions. When Disney's Animal Kingdom began development in the 1990s, Imagineers recognized the storytelling potential in recreating aspects of the Himalayan experience. Expedition Everest, Legend of the Forbidden Mountain emerged as an ambitious attraction combining thrilling physical experiences with cultural storytelling and conservation messaging. Rather than attempting to replicate Mount Everest specifically, Disney created a fictional peak called the Forbidden Mountain within the mythical kingdom of Anandapur. This creative liberty allowed designers to incorporate elements from throughout the Himalayan region, including architectural styles from Nepal, Tibet, and Bhutan. The detailed queue area features remarkably authentic representations of Himalayan cultural elements. Prayer flags flutter overhead, worn stone carvings depict Buddhist iconography, and weathered buildings showcase traditional construction techniques. Disney sent research teams to Nepal and Tibet to document architectural details, collect reference materials, and consult with cultural experts. The mountain itself, while not a direct copy of Everest, incorporates geological features characteristic of the Himalayas. Stratified rock formations, alpine vegetation patterns, and snow distribution were all studied and adapted to Florida's environment through clever use of forced perspective and material selection. The resulting 199-foot structure creates a convincing illusion of a much larger mountain when viewed from appropriate angles. This holistic approach to inspiration, drawing on both natural and cultural elements, demonstrates how Disney transforms real-world references into cohesive themed environments that respect their sources while adapting them for entertainment purposes. Monument Valley Navajo Tribal Park, Arizona. Few landscapes capture the American Southwest's majestic desolation more perfectly than Monument Valley. Located within the Navajo Nation on the Arizona-Utah border, this vast expanse features iconic sandstone buttes rising dramatically from the desert floor. Weathered by millennia of erosion, these distinctive formations, some reaching heights of 1,000 feet, have become emblematic of the American frontier through countless films and photographs. The landscape's distinctive red-orange coloration, created by iron oxide exposed within the sandstone, creates an otherworldly quality that shifts dramatically with changing light conditions. This visual drama, combined with the area's cultural significance to the Navajo people, imbues Monument Valley with both natural grandeur and human history. When Disney Imagineer Tony Baxter began developing Big Thunder Mountain Railroad in the 1970s, he drew direct inspiration from Monument Valley's distinctive topography. The attraction's iconic peaks, pinnacles, and hoodoos clearly reference the formations found within the Navajo Tribal Park, adapted to serve as both scenic elements and functional components of the roller coaster. Baxter and his team studied geological processes to understand how wind and water sculpt such formations, then applied those principles to create artificial rockwork with convincing stratification, erosion patterns, and coloration. The ride setting during the Gold Rush era connects to the actual history of mining operations throughout the American Southwest, while the supernatural elements, the mountain being haunted, add Disney's characteristic storytelling layer. The resulting attraction achieves a balance between recognizable Southwestern geography and imaginative elaboration. While clearly stylized, Big Thunder Mountain's rockwork creates an immediate association with Monument Valley's iconic silhouettes, allowing guests to feel transported to the American frontier while experiencing a thrilling adventure. Castillo San Felipe del Morro, Puerto Rico. Commanding the entrance to San Juan Bay in Puerto Rico stands Castillo San Felipe del Morro, commonly called El Morro, a magnificent 16th-century fortress constructed by the Spanish Empire. Built over 250 years starting in 1539, this UNESCO World Heritage Site features massive stone walls rising dramatically from rocky cliffs, with multiple levels of artillery batteries designed to protect the strategic harbor. El Morro's distinctive architecture exemplifies Spanish colonial military design, with 6 levels of fortifications featuring sentry boxes, corridas, barracks, dungeons, and plaza areas. Its weathered stone walls, reaching up to 140 feet in height, have withstood numerous attacks over centuries, including assaults by English, Dutch, and American forces. When developing the Pirates of the Caribbean attraction for Walt Disney World, which opened in 1973, 6 years after the original Disneyland version, Imagineers sought to create a more elaborate entrance experience. They turned to El Morro as the perfect architectural reference for a Caribbean fortress setting, creating Castillo del Morro as the attraction's framing device. Disney's interpretation maintains key elements of the original fortress: the distinctive yellowish-orange exterior, crenellated walls, watchtowers, and imposing stone construction. The queue area guides visitors through what appears to be a Spanish colonial fort that has been partially commandeered by pirates, establishing the historical context for the adventure that follows. While simplified and condensed compared to the actual El Morro, Disney's version captures the essence of Spanish Caribbean fortifications. The adaptation demonstrates Disney's approach to historical references, maintaining recognizable architectural elements while adapting the scale and configuration to serve practical requirements for guest flow and storytelling needs. Mont Saint-Michel, France. Rising dramatically from the tidal flats of Normandy's coastline, Mont Saint-Michel presents one of France's most spectacular historical landmarks. This medieval abbey and surrounding village occupy a rocky tidal island approximately 1 kilometer from the mainland. At high tide, the mount becomes completely surrounded by water. As the tide recedes, it reveals the mudflats that have made the site alternately accessible and defensible throughout its history. Construction began in the 8th century, with major expansions occurring during the 13th and 14th centuries. The resulting complex features a stunning Gothic abbey crowning the island, with concentric rings of defensive walls and village buildings cascading down to the water. The vertical arrangement creates a striking silhouette visible for miles across the flat coastal landscape. Mont Saint-Michel's unique combination of natural setting and human architecture provided inspiration for multiple Disney creations. Most notably, the animated film Tangled, 2010, features the Kingdom of Corona, whose island castle bears unmistakable similarities to Mont Saint-Michel in its placement, approach causeway, and vertical organization. This cinematic interpretation subsequently influenced the physical parks, particularly in the form of Tangled Tower at Magic Kingdom's Fantasyland expansion. While significantly scaled down and adapted to function as a themed restroom area rather than an attraction, the structure maintains the distinctive characteristics of its inspiration, a small island setting with a vertical arrangement culminating in a central tower. Additionally, elements of Mont Saint-Michel influenced the design of Prince Eric's castle in both the animated Little Mermaid film and corresponding park attractions. The seaside setting, conical towers, and medieval French architectural details connect directly to Mont Saint-Michel's iconic appearance. These adaptations demonstrate how Disney's creative process often involves multiple transformations, from real-world location to animated interpretation, then to physical park environment, with each iteration maintaining core visual elements while adapting to new narrative and functional requirements. The temples of Angkor, Cambodia. Hidden within Cambodia's dense jungles for centuries, the temple complex of Angkor represents one of humanity's most impressive architectural achievements. Built between the 9th and 15th centuries by the Khmer Empire, these stone structures combine religious symbolism, artistic mastery, and engineering prowess on a massive scale. The most famous structure, Angkor Wat, stands as the world's largest religious monument, covering over 400 acres. Its distinctive silhouette features 5 lotus-shaped towers representing Mount Meru, the sacred center of the universe in Hindu cosmology. Throughout the broader Angkor complex, hundreds of additional temples showcase characteristic elements, tiered pyramidal structures, intricate bas-reliefs depicting mythological scenes, and the haunting image of massive stone faces gazing outward from temple gates. Perhaps most distinctive is Ta Prohm, where massive strangler fig trees have grown into and around the temple structures, creating a dramatic intertwining of nature and architecture. This visual of massive roots embracing ancient stones creates an unforgettable impression of civilization being reclaimed by jungle. This fascinating collision of human achievement and natural forces provided direct inspiration for Disney's Animal Kingdom, particularly the design of the fictional temple ruins in the Asia section. The Maharaja Jungle Trek walking path features crumbling structures with architectural elements closely resembling those found at Angkor, stepped pyramidal forms, decorative lintels with similar motifs, and deliberate integration with surrounding vegetation. Disney Imagineers studied Angkor extensively, analyzing both the original architectural principles and the processes of natural deterioration. They then recreated these effects through artificial aging techniques, strategic landscaping, and carefully controlled plant growth. The resulting environment suggests centuries of history and abandonment while actually being engineered for safety and maintenance. The influence extends to Expedition Everest, where the fictional village of Serka Zong incorporates temple elements reminiscent of Tibetan Buddhist architecture, which itself shares historical connections with Cambodian temple design through the spread of Buddhism across Asia. This creative adaptation demonstrates how Disney synthesizes multiple cultural references into cohesive themed environments that feel authentic, while serving storytelling needs. The relationship between Disney's fantastic creations and their real-world inspirations reveals much about the creative process behind theme park design. Rather than simply replicating existing landmarks, Disney Imagineers study, interpret, and transform their references, distilling essential qualities that evoke emotional responses while adapting them to serve practical and narrative functions. This approach honors the original locations while creating something new. The castle inspired by Neuschwanstein becomes not just a replica but a storytelling device and navigational landmark. The rockwork based on Monument Valley becomes both scenery and functional roller coaster infrastructure. The jungle vegetation inspired by the Zambezi creates immersive environments that enhance attraction narratives. For visitors, recognizing these connections adds layers of appreciation to the park experience. Those who have seen the original Matterhorn might smile at Disney's interpretation, those who haven't might be inspired to seek out the real-world wonder. Either way, the relationship between reality and fantasy enriches both, allowing us to see familiar places through new eyes and imaginary places with greater appreciation for their authentic inspirations. In this thoughtful translation between reality and fantasy, we find the true magic of Disney Imagineering, not merely creating illusions, but building meaningful connections between the world as it is and the world as it might be imagined. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, we'd really appreciate it if you could give it a thumbs up. It really helps support the channel. And if you'd like to see more content like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Your support means the world to us. Consider clicking on the videos linked in the corners if you want to watch more.